Dear netizens, Trump's flip-flopping, once again, was completely unexpected. Just the day before yesterday, he said, "Let me tell you the whole story all at once." He rushed back urgently from the G7 summit. And then he said, well, he would decide within 24 hours whether to attack Iran. Then 24 hours went by. And he said he would decide whether to attack Iran within 2 weeks. But just a day later, he attacked Iran. That's just how it is, you know. A friend of mine told me he's not going to listen to what Trump says anymore. Wait until he does it. It's just way too unpredictable. If you try to guess what he's going to do, it's not going to work. No matter what you try to guess about him, you'll get it wrong. But that's okay, I guess. Like I said, if you think about it rationally, you really shouldn't attack Iran. Just look at what the consequences would be. But Trump is like a child. He's completely unpredictable and moody. I'm going to try to explain his state of mind so you can see for yourselves. All right. US President Donald Trump made a surprise announcement this evening. The United States has successfully carried out attacks on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, including Fordo. Basically, he used 3 B-2 bombers, mainly to bomb Fordo, but since they were already there, they loaded up with more cruise missiles and hit a few other places while they were at it. When he made the announcement, all the planes had already left Iranian airspace, returned home safely. The United States probably deployed about 6 B-2 stealth bombers, each one carrying one of these bombs, also known as your mother's bomb. They struck 3 major nuclear facilities. This is the first time since the 1979 revolution that the US military has crossed the red line of direct armed intervention in Iran to directly bomb Iran. These actions go against the US defense strategy. The US defense strategy. There is a guideline in it, especially something Trump himself mentioned, that every time a war is started, you have to think about how to end it. You have to make sure to end it. You can't just keep fighting forever. Like what happened in Afghanistan, there simply needs to be limited objectives. But now, he's completely going against that. According to a report by the New York Times, the US has 6 B-2 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Fly to the west. They were originally headed to Guam. Fox News reported that these planes were meant to divert attention. Let me tell you, the B-2 is just too important, because all the maintenance is done in the United States. It's easy for it to take off and fly out. It can fly halfway around the world. But here, the plane went missing. Last night on Clubhouse, I already knew the plane was missing. People say it flew to Guam. You mentioned Iran, those watching the East. But actually, that's not the case. It came from the West, heading straight for the most important and secretive Fordo nuclear facility. 6 massive bunker buster GPU-57 giant bunker busting bombs, these powerful munitions, were dropped. And an additional 30 cruise missiles were launched in total, targeting the other 2 locations. That's what I'm explaining to you. These bunker busting bombs weigh 30,000 pounds. That's 13 tons. The warhead alone is over 2 tons. When it detonates, it explodes like this. In principle, if it's rock, it can penetrate to a depth of 60 to 70 meters, but this one is over 90 meters. A total of 2 individual pieces need to be carefully dropped in each designated place. You carefully estimate where the most critical spots are located underground. Where are the centrifuges and other facilities located? Drill 3 holes down. Since you can go. That's how it is. Each plane is only able to carry just 1 bomb this heavy, due to its immense weight. 13 tons. In addition, each plane was specifically loaded with a total of 5 extra cruise missiles. They took the opportunity to strike 2 other locations. If there are any that haven't been destroyed, destroy them completely. Trump's speech. Then he met with reporters. He highly praised the US military. The US military achieved something globally, a great feat that only they could achieve. And that's exactly how it is now. No one else in the world has the capability. because strategic bombers are extremely expensive weapons. No one expected, during the Second World War, that the Germans would lose because they didn't have strategic bombers. Only the United States had strategic bombers. Later on, the UK had some as well. Mosquito bombers could also carry out long-range bombing missions, and there were those with a very large bomb load. The USSR had them at certain times too. Those figures, 160, but Russia doesn't have the capability to manufacture them. The most advanced bomber in China is just the H-6. Its bomb load is quite small. Its range is only a few thousand miles. Other countries can fly over 10,000 miles. To fly that far and strike with such precision, only the United States can pull it off. And only the United States has bombs that big. Russia has them too. Russia's bomb is father's bomb. Is, on paper, even heavier than the American one. It's always been this way, and it has already completely destroyed Iran's terrifying nuclear threat. He urges Iran to quickly pursue peace. Otherwise, further attacks are not off the table. He posted a warning. Iran refrains from retaliation of any kind. Otherwise, the United States will respond with even greater force. I don't know what could be a stronger counterattack from the United States. This is already the most powerful response. This is the heaviest bomb aside from nuclear weapons. The United States can strike again, hit more targets. But aside from using nuclear bombs, there's no weapon heavier than these 6 truly incredibly massive bombs. Well, these are a few air vents. There are air vents everywhere. I've also mentioned that inside this mountain, where exactly is it hidden? The space below doesn't need to be very big. How deep did you dig? Where are the centrifuges and facilities? I'm sure you don't know. You're just guessing. The way to make a rough guess is, if I were him, where would I put it? Where is the best place to put it? Because I don't know. That's why you need to bomb 3 places with 6 bombs. According to him, the representatives of the Iranian parliament say the opposite of what Trump claims. Fordo nuclear facility. There was no serious damage. The main damage was to the above-ground parts. It can be repaired. They just blew a big hole. Some houses collapsed from the shock. That's what they say. I don't know. All items that could pose a danger to nearby residents had already been cleared out long ago. There are currently no reports of nuclear radiation. That's decisive. You should check if the International Atomic Energy Agency says there's been a nuclear radiation leak. If these important places are blown up, there will definitely be a nuclear fallout leak. But let me tell you, even if you blow it up, it won't solve the problem. Why is that? The enriched uranium has already been moved out. Because there's a chance you might bomb it. It can still continue to build atomic bombs. Iran will see this attack by the United States as a sign of direct US involvement in the war. Now it's ultimately up to Iran to decide how to respond to the United States. After the United States bombed 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Shariat Madari, editor-in-chief of the hardline newspaper Kayhan, called for an immediate missile strike on the fleet in Bahrain and to seal off the Strait of Hormuz. These are the 2 things the US military fears the most. I already made this very clear on Saturday. I didn't say whether Trump would do it or not. I'm just saying, if you do, what should you be worried about? I'm just going by what the news reports say. Trump says he won't. If he won't, then you still need to consider these 2 things. First, the United States has a lot of bases in the Middle East. There are 40,000 personnel and a fleet. You've seen Iran recently use hypersonic missiles in their military operations to attack. You can't intercept them. Even Israel can't intercept them. US military bases can't intercept them either, because you don't have enough depth. If you want to intercept it, you need a bigger area. The radar saw it early. So you have time to prepare. You need depth. If you don't have depth, a base is only a few miles across. It can be hit in just 2 minutes. There's no way to defend against that. The closest one is Bahrain. It really could hit Bahrain in 2 minutes. Launched from Iran, reach Bahrain in 2 minutes. And as I said, seal the Strait of Hormuz. What can you really do about it? The editor-in-chief of the hardline newspaper Kayhan made an appeal, and he is the representative of Supreme Leader Khamenei. After the American attack on the Fordo facility, now it's our turn to take action. Shariat Madari stated as follows: "We must take the first step without any hesitation or delay." Missiles were launched at the fleet of U.S. warships stationed in Bahrain. Seal off the Strait of Hormuz. Ships from the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, and France are prohibited from passing through. I think the price of oil would absolutely, definitely skyrocket. There is just this threat of intimidation. The price of oil has become extreme. This has led to severe inflation in the United States. Meanwhile, the Houthi armed group in Yemen, backed by Iran, a senior military officer stated, Trump must ultimately bear the consequences. They attacked the Red Sea again. If you attack the Persian Gulf, then you reroute the oil exports through the Red Sea. If the Red Sea is also attacked, things are bad. Passing through the Strait of Hormuz every day, approximately 21 million barrels of crude oil each day, as well as countless shipments of LNG. The first to go under wasn't the United States. It was Europe that suffered first. Most of the exports go to Europe, followed by Japan, South Korea, and China. The Houthi Yemeni armed forces issued a statement. If the enemies of the United States launch aggressive actions in order to support Israel, they will also attack U.S. warships in the Red Sea. I said that too. If you keep fighting from the Biden era all the way to Trump, and spend 2 years on it, engaged in a year, not even 2 years, and still can't deal with the Houthi armed groups. So many merchant ships, including commercial vessels, have been sunk by the Houthis. How are you supposed to protect the Strait of Hormuz if you really can't even get the Houthis to surrender? How could you possibly get Iran to surrender? This is a disproportionate situation. According to Israeli sources, whether Israel will continue military operations against Iran in the future depends on Tehran's response to the American airstrikes on its nuclear facilities. Iran has no other options. They will surely retaliate. I can tell you, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated, I am deeply shocked by the United States' use of force against Iran today. This has led to a further escalation of danger in a region that was already on the brink of crisis, and poses a direct threat to international peace and security. This conflict has caused tensions to spiral completely out of control. The consequences are catastrophic for the entire world. In the end, Trump was accompanied by a few teams. Vance and several national security advisors made a decision, mainly Secretary of State Rubio, and they decided to launch an attack. And those people didn't dare to go against Trump's orders. If Trump said to attack, then they attacked. So why did Trump launch the attack? I'll tell you in a bit. There is no military solution. The only way out is through diplomacy. To be clear, you can't wipe out Iran at all. You just can't do it. It's very simple. Would the United States really dare to mobilize 2 million troops to attack Iran? Are you joking? Back then, it took 600,000 to 700,000 troops just to fight Iraq. Today you hit Iran. I think you'd need to prepare at least 1 million troops. Members of the United Nations want to ease tensions. The United Nations Charter and international law must be followed. The President of the United States, he spoke first. Let me explain the whole situation now, and tell everyone what's happening while the summit was underway. Originally, on June 15th, the United States will hold a second round of talks with Iran. While the G7 summit was taking place, US President Trump and the Turkish leader, Erdogan, a high-level meeting between the United States and Iran is being planned, hoping to resolve this crisis. As a result, Khamenei could not be found. It ended up going nowhere. On Monday, while Trump was in Canada meeting with the G7 leaders, received a call from Erdogan. The Turkish side suggested holding the meeting in Istanbul the next day, to hold high-level talks between US and Iranian officials. It was originally agreed to meet in Istanbul. Trump agreed, and authorized Vice President Vance and Special Envoy Witkoff to go. If necessary, he was also willing to show up himself. Talks with Pezeshkian, briefly. This is where I want to give Trump some credit. He was very brave. He insisted on negotiating. He believed handling the talks would succeed. The President of Turkey and Foreign Minister Fidan, they forwarded the U.S. proposal to the Iranian President and Foreign Minister Arachi. They said they were trying to reach Khamenei for approval. So he went back, once more. As a result, the G7 summit was left behind. He went back to get ready for this. In fact, French President Macron was indeed actually aware of this. So he said that he might be able to reach a deal when he went back. Because Khamenei has recently been worried about being assassinated by Israel. He has been in hiding, and no one could contact him directly. There was no response for several hours. Since the Iranian side informed Turkey that it was not possible to get the supreme leader's consent. So cancel. After this incident came to light, Trump said on Truth Social, Iran should have signed the agreement I proposed. To put it simply, Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Everyone should evacuate Tehran immediately. At that moment, he was planning to attack, mainly at the urging of Israel. It was decided to use B-2 bombers to attack Fordo. Let's just say 24 hours. He's already got this plan in place. Whether or not to carry it out will be decided within 24 hours. It's clear that within those 24 hours, there was a group of people, mainly people from the State Department, dissuade him not to do so, because it won't solve the problem. I said it too. You can't answer the question. If Iran really dares to retaliate in response, what can you actually do to topple the Iranian regime? If the Iranian regime doesn't collapse and never surrenders, your 40,000 troops stationed in the Middle East, as well as the highly strategic and vitally important Strait of Hormuz, will be in danger. All right. According to a report by Reuters, the Israeli Air Force has been carrying out large-scale bombings on dozens of military targets inside Iran for days, and Israel continues its offensive, including strikes on the Isfahan nuclear facility. 4 missile launchers have already been deployed and are ready. Plus 50 fighter jets, which is less than before. They dropped 150 bombs. There is no power on this scale. And that's how it is with every war. At the start, there was the most equipment available. But over time, the equipment gradually runs out. So why is it that Israel? He's been saying this for 2 weeks now, that he hopes to make peace with Iran again. But unexpectedly, when he didn't launch an attack, the whole world ended up laughing at him. Trump always chickens out. He gambled. That's one of those things. The second thing is what Israel said. Force him. If you don't have the guts to bomb them, then just lend me the B-2 and I'll do the bombing myself. The issue of Iran developing nuclear weapons clearly, absolutely has to be dealt with. You know, he's actually, in fact, really being pressured by Israel. In the end, the Jews ultimately forced him to agree to the bombing. That's exactly what happened. So, completely disregarding the consequences, the targets of the Israeli strikes also included vehicles used to launch drones at Israel, ballistic missile storage sites, but none of this is really effective. Iranian radar systems and air defense positions. Almost all of these were destroyed in the bombings. At 2 a.m., the Israeli military issued a warning about a missile attack coming from Iran. Now, the strikes are getting more and more accurate. I don't understand why either. A fire broke out on the roof of a multi-story residential building in the capital. It's getting harder and harder to intercept Israeli missiles, because they're using that Type 110, the kind that can change trajectory and travel at hypersonic speeds. First, send a drone ahead to lure your radar into going fully active. Then, launch a wave of old-fashioned missiles meant for you to intercept, firing them so you try to intercept them. And as soon as you intercept, you end up firing off a lot of your anti-aircraft munitions. Right after that, an incredibly powerful hypersonic missile is launched, along with the variant 110. As a result, they've been hitting the target every time lately. The hit rate is actually really, really high. Iranian television said in a statement, "Finally, now is the time for China and Russia to fully support Iran. they will definitely support Iran in secret. I can tell you, it's not because Iran needs it, but because they need it themselves. Several countries of the Axis powers. If Iran is gone, the positions of China and Russia would be greatly affected. China buys oil from Iran at a very low price, and Iran actively cooperates with China on everything. And Iran is continuously and consistently supplying advanced missiles and military drones to Russia, as well as providing support. So Russia cannot just sit back and watch Iran be destroyed. China and Russia must have intervened behind the scenes, and as a result, the war dragged on. The consequences are severe.